And welcome once again to another episode of Stu Him Productions Presents
J&M Solve the World. I am James.
And I am Matt. And with us are some really special guests that James has known for a while now.
Couple days. Yep.
A minute or two. So James, please.
This is my good friend, professional wrestler, promoter, booker, Mr. Tony Raze.
Floor listening to the crowd go wild.
And with him, Reina Raze.
Nice to be here.
Nice to have you guys here.
So,
I gotta admit,
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous.
I mean,
This is our first sober podcast.
first sober podcast, first celebrity.
Celebrity, yeah.
First one that has stories that A, we're not a part of, or
Right.
B, we've heard before. But Tony, you have talked about it last night, and you mentioned it this morning. D'Lo Brown. I mean, he was the guy in the nation. I mean, he pumped it up before, of course, The Godfather was The Godfather, when he was still Mufasa.
It was
The Godfather, Mufasa.
right after Papa Shango.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. But the Attitude Era, the Monday Night Wars, I mean, we were hooked, line and sinker.
Monday night was in front of the TV.
Yeah.
And I loved it when WCW would do the replay.
Trying to bounce back and forth between the two stations. Like,
Commercial. Dude. Commercial. Dude.
I loved it when WCW started doing the replay because I could watch the first hour of WCW and then flip over and watch all of Raw and then flip back and you was right for the second hour of Nitro.
Right.
Yeah.
But please give us some D'Lo Brown fucking stories.
Okay, D'Lo Brown. One of my favorite stories is how he got the head bob. Okay, he gets that head is shaking, rocking and rolling. Right. It's funny because he actually got it from the movie Friday.
True story.
Really?
You got knocked the fuck out.
So now the way the story goes, and you got to hear him say it. Like he I know he's done some podcasts. He's talked about it. It's great because he watched it the night before. He's out. Shamrock's laying on the ground outside, and he just walks up to him and he says exactly that. You got knocked the fuck out. And when they go back to through Gorilla, he says Vince McMahon's sitting there and he gives him the finger like, you're in trouble. Like, so he's like, man, I cussed on TV. I'm gonna get fined. Oh my god, like it's $10,000 fine. Vince is gonna. Vince says, well, that the head bob thing you did. Keep doing that. Okay.
Get out of here before he changes his mind.
like you just see you see this dude bigger than life. Somebody that come on. I was a fan first before I even stepped in the ring.
Yeah.
Right.
We talked wrestling years ago.
Oh, yeah.
To during that Attitude Era. And it's like looking at that going, and then hearing that story. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. Back when we were doing our shit out at the bar, and we had no clue what the fuck we were doing.
Now,
but we didn't hurt each other, so that was good.
It's always a plus.
Yep.
Now, I've heard a rumor that you trained or possibly trained. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I've got an ex-wife who tell me that or something. I don't know. I never listened to her. But who did you train under? What school did you go to?
Well, I originally tried out with Harley Race. I got a lot of respect there. Loved the WLW, everything that he did in Eldon. He was there for years. They ended up moving up outside of Kansas or outside of St. Louis somewhere. Mm-hmm. The Harley Race Academy is still running. But I ended up moving from Missouri out to California, and I trained at the School of Hard Knocks with Jesse Hernandez.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I just hearing the Harley race story, and I mean, I younger than James. I wasn't as big as into wrestling when Harley was really wrestling. I remember him as King Harley Race.
Right.
That WWF, King Harley Race, and that was how I knew Harley Race, and it was just like at the time, okay, just as an older guy, I was more of a, oh yeah, let me tell you something, brother, you have just hit the intergalactic hit list. Oh yeah.
The cream always rises to the tops. The
Had I known we were going to do this, I probably would have brought my Macho Man shirt.
There you go.
Yeah, I may or may not do a Macho Man impersonation.
First time I seen Harley Race, he was the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. This would have been in late 70s.
Sounds about
early
right.
80s, something like that. It was up at the Shrine. And personality, he wasn't he wasn't going to sit there and just bullshit with you. As a fan walking up to him, but he did give me his autograph, and he signed it. Harley Raze, National Wrestling Alliance World Champion.
Nice.
And then I met him years later at the Shrine, not at a wrestling event, but he had become a Shriner.
Okay.
And was a member of a Boob and Adam Temple in Springfield.
Nice.
I definitely have a few Harley stories. He did pass away a few years ago. But last time I seen him, I actually seen him in Vegas. He was there for CAC, and he was on one of those motorized scooters.
Mm-hmm.
And by God, if he didn't try to run me over with that son of a bitch. Like, God damn you, Harley.
His newest version of the knee drop, right?
I'm going to take your knee out.
I seen him. They was doing a WLW show in Bolivar, and it was at the old high school building, at the old our high school gym. It's middle school now.
When I had Rick Steiner come in.
Yeah, and Harley, he comes walking out, and he goes, "Anybody got a light?" I'm like, "I got one," and gave him my lighter, and he lit up. He said, "Yeah, I got to hide this from the wife. I'm supposed to quit this shit."
Now, that little lady, I think everybody was scared of her.
Yeah.
BJ was something else. She was ruthless. When it comes to business, my business partner here, Reina, like she's starting to get her niche when dealing with the boys in the locker room and stuff like that. This woman would just look at you, and you knew you messed up somewhere because she got quiet. And I seen some big old boys, stick their head down like. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping we get some more of that out of her, but we'll see how that goes as we go along.
I can see it happening. I can see it happening.
She's already giving you that look.
I know.
It happens a time or two.
Okay, to caveat off that, but slightly different. I mean, how many rock stars are afraid of Sharon Osbourne?
Well, all of them.
Yeah.
That are smart.
Yeah. And she's a tiny woman. I mean, fuck. She had Ozzy believing he had AIDS to get him to quit fucking cheating on her back in the 90s.
Oh, shit.
Rumor.
Let me write this down.
Yeah. Rumor has it that...
Allegedly.
Yeah. Allegedly. Sharon Osbourne told Ozzy he was HIV positive to get him to stop fucking around.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, have you ever done anything out in Hawaii? Or is there still a promotion in Hawaii?
There is. I know a couple of guys that go out there every now and then. That's it. I'm throwing myself under the bus here because whenever Raina and myself decide to go somewhere, usually the first thing I do is get on my phone and I look. Is there any pro wrestling there?
Yeah.
Do I need to take my gear? Can I reach out? Can I get in the ring with somebody?
Right.
Right.
And
Can I pay for this trip?
like she just looks at me like, "What are you doing on your phone?" Nothing. Like, I'm looking at porn.
Oh. I mean, I got it. It's kayfabe and whatnot, but the show Young Rock and the way that he portrays his grandmother running the promotion in Hawaii, and I mean, yeah, the guy
Let
that
me
got,
get my slapping gloves.
yeah, I mean, the guy that's playing Andre, and it's widely known that Andre was, I mean, he was a gentle giant unless he didn't like you, and it was going into what was it, WrestleMania 3 when Hogan body slammed Andre. Hogan didn't even know whether Andre was going to put him over or not. Andre hadn't even decided until like they were in the ring.
I look back at some of that stuff and I think, how could you move a man that size?
Yeah.
Right.
I consider myself a tough, strong sumbitch. Okay. But if back in the day, if this dude didn't want to be moved, he wasn't going to be moved. Right? Like, same thing. It'd be like two big old bricks just hitting each other.
Right.
Hogan's no small guy, but
You take 500 pounds and stretch it out 7'4" and
you got your hands full. Hogan's always been kind of one of those guys. Like growing up, I was a Hulkamaniac.
oh
I ain't
yeah,
gonna lie. Come on, brother.
eat your vitamins, say your prayers.
The whole 9 yards. But as I, become a bigger fan, or a smart mark, as some people would say, and you start hearing some of the stories, like him and Savage, him and Elizabeth, and you're like, maybe it ain't all these other wrestlers. Maybe it is actually Hulk Hogan that's screwing up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And just my opinion, and it's like, okay, how much truth is there to what Hogan actually says?
Right.
Like,
According to Jim Cornette, not very much.
that's my point. That guy, if you listen to Cornette's podcast, you can learn so much more about this business and how this business is ran than I'm constantly got him going on in my ear.
Right.
Right.
Because there's nuggets of truth and validation in how we run our company compared to how some of these other pop-up companies are running.
Right.
And I feel like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We're on the right path. We're gonna succeed where these other pop-ups are just gonna run 1-2 shows,
Right.
and be like, I can't do this.
Yeah, because if all they're doing is putting on a spot show, quote unquote,
Right.
but we're everybody's just doing their high spots, that's going to get old after a while.
Exactly.
You got to tell a story. You got to bring them back. Wanting more.
And that's the whole thing. Like, a lot of the wrestlers out there now, they know how to tell a story, but they don't know where to start.
Right.
They don't know where to end. And when you start talking about the psychology of the business, and you really look at things like that, and you're like, why would you do that? I was in a casino on a boat not too long ago with Jake the Snake Roberts, and AEW was playing on a loop on this cruise, right? It was a Jericho cruise.
Right.
Well, they did something on the, in this match, and I'm like, what the fuck? Why would you do that? And I look up, and Jake's just standing there shaking his head like, stupid fucking idiots. Like, he smoked fucking idiots.
Yeah.
You know, you can just hear that graspy voice, you know, and you're like, whoa. Well, kind of looks down at me like, that make any sense to you? No, that was completely stupid. He was like, are you in the business? Yes, sir. He's like, cool. And I'm like, I look around. Hey, Boston, you know, nobody's around. They're all upstairs, you know, whatever. How about taking a selfie with me? You know? And, you know, he was one of those guys that was really approachable. And,
Yeah.
you know, and you know, I told him that I did some work with Sin Bodie, who, you know, runs the Snake Pit there in Vegas.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, he's a Jake guy.
Yeah.
So Jake was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. You know, but I was so mad at another situation, you know, guys that I've known for 15, 16 years in the business acted like they didn't even know me.
You can call them out if you want to. That's entirely up to you.
Let me think. Well, let's just say they're suspended now. Is that a deer on the wall? Is that a buck?
I think it's a young one too.
Damn young bucks, man. Tough eating, right?
Yeah.
Get you every time.
Well, you know, it just, you know, they got in this position, and I feel like they almost forgot where they came from.
Right.
You know, they're getting their close buddies jobs and whatnot, but to not even have a conversation with somebody that you've known for years.
All friends wrestling.
You know, yeah. And, you know, it's just like, to see what happened to them now, I'm just like, Listen, I'm really interested to see where that whole thing goes with CM Punk and
Yeah, that's
the Young Bucks.
You know, I'm seeing all the time on because I watch my YouTube's got a lot of wrestling on it. You know, WrestleMania. You know,
Oh, I fucking love WrestleMania.
different shows like that, and a lot of them are thinking Punk's not going to be back. But I'm like, man, that would suck for the company because he's selling tickets,
Right.
and he can work. You know, I mean, one of the best that going right now. So,
Absolutely. Like when you
now,
you look at it,
if the Bucks and Olivier, as Cornette calls him, never show back up on AEW, I wouldn't miss him. I mean, I've seen some of Kenny's matches from New Japan, and yeah, I mean, he had some great matches over there, but it's the same match.
well, here's the thing about certain guys. I don't know the truth of this story, but
We just make shit up anyways.
I'm pretty sure if you go to a wrestling camp that's held by somebody like Harley Race and you can't make it through 3 days of training without somebody like Harley Race saying, you need more work. Just get out of my ring. Like,
Yeah.
Whoa.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you go back to Japan, you know, you go to Japan and you know, yeah, and anybody can learn how to bump, but when you tell a story,
Right.
you know, but then you're wrestling a sex doll in the middle of
Yeah.
the ring in Japan and you're like, really?
And he's actually talking about a real plastic blow up sex doll, not a little boy dressed in a geisha outfit. Just gonna throw that out there. I've been to Japan.
Oh my.
Asshole.
May or may not have been the red light district. Just saying.
Rapungi, huh?
Oh,
It's like the female wrestlers they brought into AEW is like, where are you getting these 198-pound schoolgirls? You know, I mean,
Right.
you've got real female wrestling talent on your roster. You don't need this shit.
and I
Some
will.
of them are really raw and really green as a pepper tree, whatever. But you can see something in them. But you know, when you bring in these little flippy schoolgirls, it's like, why?
It's almost like they're trying to do the whole WWE Divas thing, where there really wasn't wrestling involved. It was just eye candy. And then you get like Sasha Banks and Charlotte Flair and Bayley, and I mean, girls that really like want to fucking wrestle, and they change the face of female wrestling, and they headline their own pay-per-view, and they're proving we're a main event.
Right.
And I think from what I've seen with other promotions, it's like it's that knee jerk reaction. Oh shit, we got to get in this. But I mean,
well, it's like Cornette talks about Mick Foley. He said, great guy, great worker. You're just great at everything. But one of his downfalls is being remembered for the deathmatch stuff.
Right.
And he said, but what he did was good in the death matches because he was telling a story.
Yeah.
And it led up to the death match. It wasn't just like, well, we're going to fight for the first time. Let's have a death match.
Right.
You know, but he said, you know, the young guys, they just see death match stuff. We got to do that.
Right.
Don't know how to get there. I mean,
Right.
I remember back in the day when we were going to this Ryan Mosque all the time, a feud would happen between two guys or two tag teams or whatever, and something would happen on TV, and it's like, my God, okay, you know, it was always over the titles. We're going to be in a cage match this weekend. Mm-hmm. Or we're going to do a chain match or a dog collar match or something, but there was rules to the match.
Yeah.
Their Texas death matches they've had on AEW, they're not Texas death matches.
Right.
You know, that's more of a, what do they call it? Not the I Quit, but the last man standing type match.
More of,
Because Texas death match is supposed to have pinfalls
right.
or submissions. Then there's a 30-second rest period, and then if the guy can't continue, that's when the match ends. So you could have 50 pinfalls.
You know, well, there's like different variations of every match now. Mm-hmm. You know, like the original Texas Bull Rope match was actually a 4-corner match.
Oh, yeah, you had to drag your opponent and touch all 4 corners.
You know, but over the years, that particular art has been lost. Mm-hmm. You know, so if they can't go to all 4 corners, they'll use the submission or pin. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's for me, I'm okay with that as long as it still tells the story.
But there's that drama, though.
You know,
He's got 3. He's
right.
going for the 4th. He's almost there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh,
Big
now
cowbell
he's
hit.
got to start all over
Right.
again. You know, yeah.
You know, and you know me, I come on, you know me forever. I'm American Dream Dusty Road fan, if you will. Okay, daddy.
Son of a
Right.
plumber.
North Kakalaka, South Kakalaka.
You know, it's like I loved watching that big dude just work. You know,
yeah.
and you know, just some over the years when you watch certain wrestlers and you go back and you look, and you're like, that makes sense. What they're doing now in AEW and, you know, some of the stuff, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, you know, the super kick. Chris Adams, Shawn Michaels, when they hit you with that was match over.
Right.
Now they super kick your head off 15 times and you get a 2 count.
Well, that's Taker had said it on Broken Skull session, and then Bubba Ray had backed it up. When the Dudleys wrestled Taker, they were going to give him the 3D, and they were trying to work it to where Taker sat up from it, and Taker said, "No, that's your finish. That's it. Nobody." And it was, I want to say it was their last match in WWE before they went to like TNA or something like that. Somebody finally kicked out of the 3D, and it was just like, you know, a big ass fucking shocker. But it's the same. If you have a finisher, you know, okay, Rock and Stone Cold, you know, they were going rock bottom for fucking stunner, just back and forth. It was a WrestleMania match. Mm-hmm. And it was finally like 3 stunners, and the Rock's finally out. But then he hops up and he hits Stone Cold with the with the rock bottom, and then hits him with the people's elbow, which, of course, that only came around to try to get fucking Taker to break fucking character. Because they were sitting in the back. It was Stone Cold, Taker, Rock, Kurt Angle, like in a 4-way, and The Rock didn't have the people's elbow yet. And they were trying to think of some way to get Taker to break. Because at that time, you know, Taker was the gimmick.
Right.
There was no out of the gimmick whatsoever. And they just like, okay, this is the most dumbest thing in the world. And I want to say The Rock hit him with it. And for a brief moment, Taker kind of grinned right before he sat up and hit Rock with a fucking chokeslam.
My favorite is there's actually a video going around where they're trying to get Taker to do the spinneroonie.
Oh, God.
And, you know, he's just, you know, of course, you know, TV's off, but, you know, they're still recording. And, you know, Vince is out there. Vince gets down there and he does a little spinneroonie. Triple H does a spinneroonie, you know.
I've seen that video.
And you're just like, you know, at this point, they're just like ribboning.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and wrestling should be fun.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's times where I don't have fun anymore.
Yeah.
Because I look at it and I'm like, there's so much of, like, in Southern California right now, it's so saturated. I got, you know, there's one spot that runs 4 or 5 different shows. That's within 7 miles of all 3 of my venues.
Right.
Well,
And you're like, okay, so you got 5 different companies running in one building. And then you got, you know, other companies, you know, starting to find these other little spots around, and you're just like, all right.
And let's define the building though too, because it's not like this big huge building.
Right, like they're basically running in the alley in the back. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, we'll do parking lot shows, you know, for the American Legions. You know, me being a vet myself, you know, that's one of my ways of giving back, is try to help raise money for the Legions. Keep, you know, when COVID hit, things really started going downhill for a lot of Legion posts.
right.
So, you know, fundraiser's a fundraiser.
With that being said, and not to cut you off there, but what branch?
Navy. Never again volunteer yourself.
Yeah. I was a glutton for punishment. One branch wasn't enough. No, I had to do 2.
Really?
You didn't learn the first time.
Yeah, apparently not.
Which 2?
Marine Corps, 92 to 96. And then I joined the Army in 05 and got medically retired in 14.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm just fucking...
Okay, sidebar. I'm just
Yeah.
curious. Why would you do that?
So I was in the reserves, Marine Corps Reserves in 04, and I was supposed to take 3 of my Marines. We were getting attached to 1st Marine Division at Camp Pendleton, and then we were going to Iraq. Shit went sideways, and they pretty much, my unit told me, don't call us, we'll call you. So I called... First thing I did is I got a hold of active duty Marine Corps recruiter, and I was a sergeant at the time. I was E5, and they're like, well, best we can do, you'll go in as an E3, but I can't get you in anywhere until December. This is August. I'd already, job was done. I'm like, yeah, I don't have a job now. And then the Army recruiter, fucking hook, line, and sinker, get you promoted, duty station of choice. You want airborne? Fuck yeah, we'll just fucking do all this. And yeah, I got offered 2 jobs to keep my rank. Tanker and a Ford Observer. I'm not claustrophobic, but when it's time to get the fuck out of something, it's time to get the fuck out. And a little bitty ass hatch ain't happening. So I'm like, let's be a Ford Observer. I can kind of do that. But yeah, I mean, that's that's the way it was. And yeah, I like the joke. The Marine Corps didn't destroy my body enough. I'm going to give the Army
A chance at
yeah,
it, right?
Yeah. See, I've had surgery on my right hip. They removed 3 centimeters of bone off my femur. They had to fix the ligament in the socket because my femur had flattened out. Last year or the year before, I had
It's been a little over a year.
ended up having shoulder surgery. They were supposed to go in and just clean up the socket, and ended up opening up the top and really cleaning it out and took part of my clavicle out. Both knees are fucked.
And all service related.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, the neck's from headbanging a little bit too.
Yeah. IED blast in Iraq.
Wow.
Perforated both eardrums, multiple concussions, lacerations to the back of the head. Yeah. Yeah. I will say my hearing problem, at least this is what I've told exes in the past, my hearing problem is because of that, not because I don't want to listen to you.
What?
Selective hearing.
Did you say something? No? Okay.
Well, thank you for your service.
Well, I appreciate you guys and everything you're doing, and I got to give it up to Tony. Going from a landlocked state like Missouri and joining the Navy.
I did bounce back and forth between here and California my whole life, so.
Now, where did you get to go?
I spent 2 years over in Japan.
Okay.
That
Mainland or Okinawa?
mainland.
Okay.
That was fun. You know, it fed my pro wrestling obsession a little bit because, you know, I met quite a few pro wrestlers over there. Road Warrior Hawk, $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Watched him put a guy's nose on the side of his face one night. That was pure gold.
Was that a receipt or a potato?
Ooh, man, that was a potato. No, it was the first bar I ever worked in.
Oh, yeah.
Called Gas Panic. There was a bar and there was a club, and I was working the club that night, and you know, Hawk and DiBiase came in with a bunch of the Japanese wrestlers, and dude walks up to DiBiase and said, "You guys are a bunch of fake fucking pussies."
Oops.
DiBiase was like, "You know what? I'm a performer. You either like my show or you don't. You don't have to watch. But tell you what, no hard feelings. I'm gonna buy you a beer." Hands him a beer. Dude pours the beer out. Now you see, you shouldn't have done that. And you know, I'm across the club, and I'm watching this start to transpire, and I see Road Warrior Hawk standing behind DiBiase. And I'm like, and let me tell you something. That was a big son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he had muscles on his earlobes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this dude is scary big. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
He had biceps on his biceps.
like, I mean, scary big. DiBiase just kind of turned and looked, went, hit that dude so freaking hard, man. Just, and you know, Marine sailors. Oh, there's a fight.
I got my liquid courage.
So here I am, going to pick up 2 bodies, take over to the elevator, down the button, go grab 2 more bodies. I mean, there's something about strong style and Japanese wrestling. Them boys are tough.
I'll bet, yeah.
And they beat the fuck out of these guys. I mean, it was like 20-10.
You
Most of them guys are probably also trained in several martial arts and
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
you seen the video when WWE first went into Saudi, and it was an interview with Vader and Taker, and the host started talking about how wrestling was fake, and Leon just got up and fucking like open hand slapped this fucker down Does that look fake? Does that feel fake to you?
And some old Doctor Death stuff right there.
Yeah.
David Schultz, like, you know,
That dude still has a ringing in his ear over that incident.
I guarantee you he does. You know that.
I can't remember his name now. He was what, an ABC reporter.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I know what you're talking about now. I remember that.
Slapped
Yeah.
him right in the eardrum twice.
Fuck that.
Then Hogan about killed. What was that TV talk show host? Right before WrestleMania.
Oh, put him on the sleeper hold.
Put him in the front face lock, and he went out and he fell down and cracked his head on the table.
All right. I'm going to have to pause it here. If you would like to hear more of Stories with Tony and Reina, tune in to next week's After Dark, and you will hear the rest of it. But until then, you have just watched another episode of Stewham Productions Presents
J&M Solve the World. I've been James.
And I've been Matt. And until next time, keep one fist in the gold, one foot in the gutter, and we'll be seeing you.
Peace.